Hi friends, my name is Amanda. I'm a registered dietitian, and today we're going to discuss how to maximize the quality, freshness, and nutrients in our perishable foods. Let's begin by talking about foods that are to be stored in ambient or room temperature. Firstly, anything in the allium family of vegetables, with the exception of green onions and leeks, should be stored at room temperature. So this would include anything like garlic, shallots, onions, and I also like to store ginger root and turmeric at room temperature as well. Just remember to put it into a cool, dark area of the kitchen. Secondly, are fruits that are not ripe yet. So things like pears, avocados, even things like citrus, kiwis, pineapple, mango, persimmons. Wait until they're ripe before storing in the fridge. Otherwise, they will never fully ripe if you stick it in the fridge at that point. Bananas, room temperature. Once they're super ripe, you can go ahead and peel them or keep them with the skin and then freeze them for banana bread or smoothies. Tomatoes should never be stored in the fridge because what happens is it really destroys the flavor but also the texture of the tomatoes. So be it cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, tomatoes on the vine, make sure you store them at room temperature. Sweet potatoes and potatoes, I like keeping them in a paper bag or in the bag that they came in, and again, store it in a cool, dark area in the kitchen. Now, let's talk about the fridge. So we open our fridge. On the sides of the fridge, we can store our condiments and any spreads that we may enjoy. On the top shelves of our fridge, stick to prepared items that are ready to eat or packaged items such as yogurt. So here I have some leftover cake. I got some Greek yogurt. I also have a bag of almond flour because that should be stored in the fridge for freshness. For vegan desserts, I love having a can of coconut milk. Then I also have things such as cut up vegetables, leftover rice, as well as hard-boiled eggs. On the bottom shelf should really be your proteins. So think eggs, meats, and tofu. I also like to store any drinks on the bottom shelf as well. For those who may have a deli compartment, in this drawer you can keep all your fancy cheeses, as well as cold cuts like prosciutto or preserved meats or seafood such as salted fish. I also usually keep my butter and miso paste in this drawer as well. Lastly, let's talk about our crispers. Super important. Now in your fridge, you should have two crisper drawers. One should be allocated strictly for fruits and the other should be strictly allocated for vegetables. Now for the fruits, once your fruit is ripe, that is perfect time to stick it in this crisper drawer. Berries, I also like to store in here right away. So I have some blueberries, I have a bag of lime, sometimes I have lemons in here as well, and then any ripe citrus or apple and pears or persimmons will all be in here. Now one thing to note is I always leave my fruit drawer on low humidity. Super important. Don't put it on high, put it on low, otherwise your fruit is gonna mold, okay? Now let's move on to the vegetable crisper drawer. This one, the humidity should be on high because we want to keep it nice and fresh and plump, okay? So think lettuce, celery, carrots should all be stored in this drawer. I also want to take a look at my herbs. A common complaint is that herbs spoil too fast, and so the best way to store herbs is actually in a damp towel. So here I have some washed cilantro as well as green onions or scallions, and this towel is nice and damp, and I just roll it up, and then we just stick it into a plastic bag. My herbs stored in this way can last for up to 2 weeks. Let's talk about mushrooms. For mushrooms, you can either keep it in its original package or in a paper bag like so. So in here, I have some beautiful baking oyster mushrooms, but do not store this in the vegetable crisper drawer. Rather, just keep it on either the top or second shelf of your fridge because the high humidity really just keeps too much moisture in the mushrooms and then they'll go bad quicker. Now, before you prepare and eat your fruits and vegetables, you might be wondering, what is the best way to disinfect or remove any herbicides or pesticide residues? Well, when it comes to disinfectant, the easiest thing to do is to have a basin of water. In this case, I have 4 cups of water here and 1 cup of vinegar. So the ratio again is 4 cups of water to 1 cup of vinegar. If you double it, then also double the ratios, right? So we're gonna add that in. And this is what you would use to soak your fruits and vegetables in to disinfect. Now, moving on to part 2, which is to remove any herbicide or pesticide residues. Now, for fruits like pineapple or mango where you're not eating the actual skin of it, there's no need to do this step. But for things like leafy greens, or perhaps you're eating apple skin or some berries, this would be a great one to use. So in this one, we're gonna have 4 cups of water, and all we're gonna do is add in a tablespoon of baking soda. And just make sure you let it dissolve, and then you can soak your fruits and vegetables in this concoction. I hope you learned something new today on how to store your fresh perishables. And until next time, relish every bite.